safety and security announcement. Please take care and on and off trains as underfoot surfaces may be affected by the weather. Government guidance states public transport.
Hello again folks, and welcome back to the Glasgow South Motor Tramway and Rail Workshops. It's a wee while since I've done a workshop, and this morning I'm going to do I'll let you see the rolling road Loco test that I built. I've got it to the stage where everything works. It's not all hardwired in, it's just hooked up to let us see how it performs. All the meters are now reading, the voltage meter and the 2 ammeters are all functioning the way they should. The controller is now functional the way it should. I've fixed the actual controller's reversing switch in one position so it can't change, and put in a separate switch. And the reason for that is if you don't do that, you'll end up with a short circuit. Either that or the voltmeter won't read in both directions. So I'll go into that in a wee bit more detail as we go along, because there's bits I've got to show you on that. But I'll be back shortly. So here we are again folks, and I don't know how well you can see this. This is what you're seeing is the controller, the voltmeter, and that's the new, you can see the black thing to, I just put a bit of plastic over that to hold the reversing switch in one position. And then below that I've got the new reversing switch to operate the rolling road. So let's have a wee look. Now start the controller, and you can see the voltmeter reads, I don't know how well you can actually see that actually. I'll try and zoom in a wee bit. You can see it's reading about 5 volts, so we'll turn on power. Oh sorry, we've still got to turn on the direction switch. There we are, got the Loco running. It's probably showing about 7 volts, 6-7 volts. You won't be able to see it at the moment, but the ammeter's showing about 0.2. And of course we can that's it, running at really slow speed. Somehow or other, I don't know why, but the power seems to increase itself, and it will start to run dead slow and then pick up again. So that's that. Of course then centre off and reverse is quite simple, that's quite simple, straightforward. The 1 amp ammeter is reading 0.2, the 5 amp is probably the same, it's just off the 0 the way these things work, so it's probably right enough. I'll try and move the camera to see the ammeters. Fine. That's the 0.2 one, that's the 1 amp ammeter, that's the other one. These 3 switches are for the 3 tracks, that's the 00, the N gauge and the 3 rail. So it's pretty steady in its workings. So let you see a wee bit inside. I'll stop this. Okay, we're 16 volts coming in from the transformer at the back. These are 16 volts, 2 wires, 16 volts AC, that is, down to the controller, and 12 volts coming out the other end, which goes to this terminal block. Where they enter the terminal block, I have added the voltage meter, which is here. There you are now. There's the voltmeter there. That, a minute here, zoom in a wee bit now. I'm trying to see that you're seeing what I want you to see. That black thing there is the Bridge Rectifier. That's, I think I've got 4 of these. They were fairly cheap, and that's what stops the short circuit. The two inside terminals are the input, and the 2 outside terminals are the plus and the minus. They go and run through into here, where I've got another terminal block in a semicircular fashion. So here we are. We've got this in a semicircular fashion terminal block. You've got the 2 wires coming through. The grey wire is the common. It goes straight up to, no it doesn't, it goes straight to this crocodile clip and goes straight, it's no wired in yet, goes straight up to the negative rail, which is in the top. The red wire goes straight to the ammeter, through the ammeter into the other ammeter, and back to the 3 switches for the 3 different tracks. And that's the way it's wired. There's nothing really complicated. Having said that, it took me a wee while to work it out. But there we are. That's basically it. There are other things, by the way. There are other sockets that I'm going to put in. I'm going to put a socket in there. 2 sockets in there. So you can connect a digital meter if you wanted to. Now some folks may say, well, why did you not fit digital volt and ammeters? Well, there is a reason for that, because when I connected my multimeter on the ammeter readings and the voltage meter readings, it fluctuates, because it's a motor that's getting used, it fluctuates that much. These are more steady, but the option will be there to connect an ammeter if you want, and the same for the ammeters. If you want to connect a digital multimeter to it, it will be there. So that's basically it, folks. There's not an awful lot I can say about it. Again, we're using the DCC Concepts. A good lady bought me the DCC Concepts Rolling Road, the 12 roller one, for Christmas time, and this is just me getting fixed up to use it. If you have any questions, if you were thinking in building something like this, and it is quite good, I have done a few tests on it, where I had the wee Great Western pannier tank was drawing nearly half an amp when I first tried it, and I took it, it's an XO3 motor that's in it, I took the brushes out, cleaned everything up, and put it back together, clean the brushes, clean the commutator, T-cut, clean the wheels, T-cut, make sure I get it all off, no problems. And when I put it on the rolling road, it went from 0.5, half an amp, down to about 0.2. Now that speaks for itself. That's where this comes in. Those of you who are using DCC, when you get a locomotive that's maybe DCC ready, you can test it on the rolling road, and that will tell you what current the motor is drawing, so your decoder is high enough in ampage to cope with it, or your sound chip or whatever. I'm not DCC orientated, folks, I know that. But there you are. I mean, it's a great bit of kit, and I can remember a number of years ago, Gauge Master brought out a rolling road, and it had one ammeter in it, and it was, I think it was about £70 or £80 when they brought it out. It ended up over £100. This cost me nowhere near that. Well, I'll rephrase that. For the DCC Concepts, it did. It cost about £90 for the DCC Concepts 12 roller version. But this bit here, the superstructure, the meters, the controller was a scrap controller anyway. I got it for nothing, but it's a great bit of kit. And for those of you who are just running train sets, for kids it might no matter, you know, but if your locomotive's no running right, stick it on the rolling road on this, look at what the meters show you, and you will see what the problem is. You'll see that if it's high, if it's over up to 0.5 amp or more, there's something not right. And I mean, even Dublo locomotives are drawing. Folks say they will draw more than the modern ones, yes, but no anywhere over half an amp. And having said that, what you've got to remember is, when it's on the rolling road, it's no pulling anything, it's no pulling coaches, it's no pulling anything like that. So it will be higher when it's running on the layout, but not that much higher. And I just think that this will be a great bit of kit. I built it myself. I mean, I just made it up as I went along. Got some I think it was either 9mm or 12mm plywood. Don't use chipboard. No. Don't use MDF. Get something solid. Plywood is for this. And inside I had to keep the thing I was going to use dowels to put the superstructure together. I couldn't get the holes. I had a dowel jig, and I used to use this all the time about 30 years ago. But now I just couldn't get it accurate enough. I didn't have a vertical stand for the drill. So what I used was 1-inch square timber in at the four corners, put a screw up, end of story. Lovely. Easy peasy. So the frontage I used was a special stuff that we got, and it's really expensive. And this is just a cutting I got from the club. The stuff itself was over £100 a sheet, but we got four control panels plus this, and I'm sure my chairman said there was a huge big bit left over, but that's alright for a club, but for an individual to go and spend that, a good bit of, I wouldn't use hardboard. Plywood again would be the best. Hardboard if you paint it or whatever you do, it warps very easily. But there we are, folks. I don't want to ramble on about this. I just want to show you. I've done that. I've shown you most of what I can do. Once I've got the other two tracks, and I've got an N gauge and a 3-rail locomotive. I think we've got a 3-rail locomotive line at the club actually, but I've not got any N gauge stuff. But once I get something like that, I'll be back and we'll take it from there. Thanks for viewing, and keep on shunting, keep on modelling, and once again, may God bless you all.
see something that doesn't look right, speak to staff or text British Transport Police on 61016. We will sort it, see it, say it, sort it.